So now, if you expand the number of people that can innovate, right, as you said, happened at Y Combinator and is now happening even more on Nostr, and you open the doors, you democratize access to being able to build. Does that also then in turn increase the potential for capturing value as a business? Do you expect to see that? We saw Y Combinator kind of open the floodgates for all these tech startups that went on to become unicorns. Will we see the same or more of that on Nostr now, where anyone can innovate and they don't have to ask Twitter for permission?
Yeah, this is the $1 trillion question. Uh, I would say I think through these things and I debate it with people real time every day, but I wouldn't say I'm convinced one way or the other. I do think that that it is going to be a net positive for technology and the wealth of humanity, not in monetary terms necessarily, but I think for the access to information, the customized client experiences, just better technology, more open source technology in more people's hands that serve more people's specific needs, I think it's just going to massively increase kind of, the wealth of the world. Now, how much of that will be sort of dispersed and not capturable? My guess is it's a tremendous amount. Will there be some small fraction of that? So can you like 10x or 100x the amount of wealth in the world, but non-monetary wealth, but just like value that humanity has? I think that's absolutely. I mean, I'd say 99% convinced that's just going to happen with this kind of system and kind of the incentives. Is there opportunity to capture value? Who's going to capture it? What do the value capture points look like? I'd say it's like I'd say like a big shrug. I don't know. Like it may be that it's just 100x bigger, and you can capture, you know, 10x less value, but that's still like a huge win compared to where we are today. So I would say it's like a real time thing worth discussing. But I think it's it's not going to look the same as it did back then. So it's not going to be it's probably not going to be like buy equity in a US based startup that's selling shares, and they're going to hire all the people to build an open source client. Like that doesn't seem credible, because when you decouple the client and the data store, I think you also really shift the game for how value could be captured. So instead of trying to capture value in ways that the system doesn't make sense, I think you have to try to identify the gravity wells in the system. Like, where is value probably going to accrue, or where will there be some centralization aspects just because like the structure of the system is going to cause them to exist? And if you can do those or find those, I think there could be some value capture, kind of both, kind of monetary value capture through ownership, minority ownership of such a thing. So I think that's what like a good investment opportunity may look like. But I wouldn't say that it's like guaranteed exactly how that's going to play out. Now, I do think, probably the best way to invest in Nostr today is just to like, play with it and, spend your time figuring out what you like and forming a taste and opinion about where, sort of where all of the value will accrue and how people will navigate this ecosystem, so that you have a prepared mind for if and when there is an opportunity to make investments. But besides spending your time, I mean, the other thing that seems obvious to me is like, I think that Nostr represents the first really unique, great use case for Bitcoin and Lightning. Like, I think we have lots of hypotheses and examples of cool things happening in the world, but I think the sort of loose affiliation between relay operators who incur real costs and client developers and users are all fairly loosely affiliated and have lots of interchangeability of those relationships, but there is real value transferred. I think that's like use case number one for why Bitcoin and Lightning is needed to help facilitate those relationships. So I think if one way to invest in this ecosystem is buy Bitcoin, but that might not be satisfying, because probably people already are excited about that.